All right. Welcome everyone. This is our Thursday morning production call. We got a good one. It's kind of a repeat of last week because we had a whole bunch of folks ask for more information and we didn't get to record it last week, so we're recording this one. And then we're going to dig into working CI leads. I think the majority of the organization is working CI leads. If you're brand new, what a CI lead is a call-in lead. Basically, they got the letter in the mail. Instead of mailing it back, they called the number on there, and that's how they became a lead in our system. So we're going to dig in how to work them and a few other things for them. Also, what I love to talk about, right, is I don't want this to be a waste of an hour for you. If you are on here, right, please feel free to have your camera on, be super interactive. Feel free to unmute, ask any questions. As long as it's right, it's topic related. We do want to make sure we're helping everyone as best as possible. It is an hour long, so I want to make sure y'all are benefiting out of it, right? Take notes. We take notes, even though we're teaching on it, because we get a whole bunch of great ideas from y'all. So feel free to unmute and ask any questions. And then what we humbly ask is, the hard part is, right, getting some of this information and then going applying it to your appointment, right? Like, you're already doing what you're doing, and it's so hard to grab one or two things and then go change your appointment, right? So as long as you're focusing on, hey, we're going to go over a lot of information today, right? Take all the notes you want, but just focus on one or two things, right? Don't go out and change your entire process, right? Just grab one or two things that you feel, hey, this is probably going to help me the best. Go apply it. And then if it helps you, right, help a family, write another policy, please post it in band. And what helped you, it really, really does help other agents see, hey, this little nugget helped me, right? And it could help another agent in our entire organization. So we learn together, and that's what we humbly ask, that we continue to help each other so we can get better 1 week at a time. So we're going to dig into call-in leads, right? Again, we'd love to talk about the kind of lead it is, right? So we're going to break down how leads are generated, their mindset, right, and why leads are the way they are, right? So I want to talk about first a mail-in lead, right? So the mail-in lead, we don't work a lot in our organization, but what they got is they got a letter in the mail, they filled it out, and they mailed it back to us, right? Those kind of folks are proactive people, right? So David, I get that letter in the mail, me and my wife see it, and we're like, hey, you know what? We should probably get protection, babe, right? They're being proactive. Like, this says they could pay off our mortgage. Sandra, I want to make sure you're protected. We're being proactive. We actually fill out the form, right? put it in the envelope, disgustingly lick that puppy, put it in the mailbox, and mail it off, right? These are proactive people. Those are also your happier people. What I mean by that is, when you're dialing and you got a batch of different types of leads, those are more commonly the leads that are saying, David, thank you for calling. We already got that taken care of. I appreciate you, right? But we're good, right? Those are the leads that'll say, hey, you know what? We looked into it. We can't afford it. Not what we want, but thank you for calling, right? They're pretty pleasant no's, if you understand what I mean. Now, the CI leads, David, those are the reactive people, right? The reactive people, I like to tell everyone, the CI leads, they're a little spicy, right? Like, those are the ones that you're getting. Like, Steve laughs, right? Like, those are our spicy clients, right? Those are the ones where you're going to hear, I don't know what you're talking about. This is a scam, blank off, right? Like, don't call me anymore. They're just the spicier personalities, right? But when you understand that, I think it makes a really big difference of how you start interacting with them, and then how you start taking your nose, right? Because if you're brand new and you don't understand that theory, right, that a CI lead is a spicy lead, right, and you start dialing for the very first time, or you don't really even think about it and you're just dialing, and you get 5 or 6 spicy clients tell you to blank off and no and this or that, you can very easily be like, oh, these leads are horrible, right? And it's far from that. Right? Like, I have worked CI leads for 6 years here at Symmetry. They are my absolute favorite for ROI, dollar value. I get more clients, and I absolutely love them. And I think most of our organization now is writing production on them. So they for me, they are absolutely the best lead you can get pound for pound from Symmetry. Why also is because the speed of the lead. That's very important. And if you're on a brand new CI lead order, right? I love to say this. So they get this letter in the mail, and it says it says that their mortgage is in danger, right? Because these are reactive people. They call the number on there, they do all their thing, and I'm going to go into that in a little bit. But 30 seconds from when they hang up, David, and they have to go through the whole thing, they hang up, it dumps into your system. There is no faster lead in Symmetry than a CI lead right now. That for me is the coolest thing ever about a CI lead, because we were just talking about this yesterday, James, right? In our late hour Zoom sessions, and we're talking about a CI lead used to be a week and a half old for me, David, because Symmetry would grab them all, right? And if they did it from last week sometime, I wouldn't get them until Thursday this week, and I would get them once a week. And now a CI lead dumps into your system 30 seconds after they hang up. There is no faster lead in Symmetry. I absolutely love them. It's crazy, right? So I want to go back more into the spicy lead, right? So why they're spicy? They're reactive people. And what do I mean by that? So realize when somebody buys or refinances a home, they get both letters, right? Like we like, and not just Symmetry, right? Like all companies bombard them with, right, the mortgage protection letter, the be responsive, right? This is going to do this, or what we call the postcard from the CI lead. And the postcard from the CI lead says, your mortgage is in danger, right? And that's why they respond to that, because they get the same one. They open it up, Amber, and they look at it. Insurance, nah, I'm not going to protect her, whatever's in their head, right? And then they see the other postcard that says, oh, my mortgage is in danger. Let me do something because something's bad about to happen. They're reactive people. And it is so, so important to know that, because now you know they're gonna be spicy, Maddie, right? Like they're gonna be a little rude to you. And it's perfect. That's just their personality. How many of y'all know rude people, period? And they're still our friends, they're still our family members, right? Like that's just them. We accept them, we love them, that's who they are, right? We just know how to maneuver around them or deal with them, right? And it's the same thing with these leads. Knowing this makes it so much easier to operate them, right? And go through the process with them. They're just the ones that, right, they're going to the appointment, David, and they're saying some random stuff like, man, can you hurry up? I don't know I don't know how much time I got, right? And they will literally sit there for 2 hours until I write the policies, right? But they just say random stuff, right? Like think of it as the old feisty grandpa, right? Like they just say random stuff. There's absolutely no meaning to it, right? We just, as long as you know, right? So like that family member, David, that you know is a little rude, once you know they're rude, right? Doesn't it feel different when they say random stuff, right? When they say random stuff to our kids and it's like, right? Crazy Uncle Dave, right? Like we already know that person, right? And so realize that with the CI lead. They're just saying random stuff. There's absolutely no meaning or anything to it. And it makes it so much easier, and it even makes it comical. And I think that's super important to start taking it comical, because guess what? You got to, these are our leads, right? Like you're going to run a ton of appointments. And for us, right? Like James, now we laugh. Like I love it when we're in a dial room, right? Or we're running appointments and they say some random off the wall stuff that now it's just comical, right? Like, cause it has nothing to do with me. And it's just the way they speak, right? The way they talk, they are just random little folks. So it makes it, again, once you start learning that, it makes it so much fun. So, right, again, understanding the process, right? Their postcard says their mortgage is in danger. Please call this phone number so we can protect it. Now, how to edify the CI lead, I can't say this enough. The reason I love it is they have to stay on the phone through the entire phone prompt to become a lead. Okay. And I love to walk folks through this process, right? So they call the number on there. There's a weird like 10-digit code for their mortgage, and they have to plug this thing in. Hey, you are calling for the mortgage protection, right? Please enter your mortgage ID 5, 7, 3, 4, 6, 8, 10, right? Whatever it is. And then it repeats it back. You entered blah, blah, blah. Is that correct? Yes. Right. And they have to go through this whole phone prompt, and it gives them now the exact information as a regular mail-in lead. This is to protect your mortgage. If you were to pass away, right, it's going to have living benefits. If this is something you, right, you would like to receive a call back, please enter your name, right? Please put in your age. Are you a smoker or not? Please enter your phone number. And this is what I love about a CI lead too. So in a CI lead, if you look at the actual sheet, it has the caller ID. So it has the actual phone number that they called from. And it's sometimes different than the number they send, right? Because sometimes they're at the office, right? And so realize they took this postcard to work, David, and they called from the office number, right? And because that's why it has a different caller ID. And then it says, please enter the number you would like us to call. And right, and they enter their number, whatever it is. And then it says, you entered blah, blah, right? Is that correct? Yes. Perfect. We're gonna reach out and let you know. Then they hang up. They have to go through the entire process. If not, it does not become a lead. The CI lead for me is my favorite. Why? Because they also have to enter that phone number to verify, right? So I was doing this with one of our new agents yesterday, right? And so on a CI lead, you only get one person's name, right? The main person on the mortgage. And so also remember, whatever phone number is on there and you're calling, and whoever picks up, whether it's the wife, the husband, the cousin, the whoever, that's the person who put in their phone number. So don't ever run away from that, right? Like, so if I have Steve Fiorentino's lead, right, and it says Steve, right, but a female picks up, I'm just instantly going to go Miss Fiorentino, right? I'm not going to say, is Steve there? May I speak to Steve? That is not on our script, right? On a CI lead, you only get one person's name. So just instantly go, right? If it's a male or female or the opposite, right? Just instantly go with the last name, Mr. or Miss, right? Do not ask for that lead's name, right? Because they're going to say, oh, they're not available right now. I promise you they're going to say that every single time, right? So you instantly go, hey, Miss Fiorentino, right? And then you're right on script, because guess what? Even though Steve's name's on there, right? Miss Fiorentino is the one that read the letter, called it, went through the phone prompts. That's the person that you want to run, okay? Then you'll verify, hey, and then the cool part about those, you instantly know there's a spouse, right? Because we were teaching on the spouse on last week's call, and we're going to dig into that today too, right? But you instantly know there's a spouse already as well, right? So that's an actual good thing. Make sure you just go instantly Mr. and Miss with the last name and run it like exactly like the script. Dave.
When you get a situation like that, it's also a fabulous way to put some bullets in your gun, because if the lead says Joe and a woman picks up, I'm going to say, Miss Martinez, I got that request that you and Joe made. It gives me even more credibility that I know what I'm calling about and who you and your spouse are.
Yeah, good one. So, all right, we know they're spicy, right? We know his or her, okay? We know how they respond. Now we want to dig into just how to book an appointment with CI leads. So, right, we understand CI leads are feistier. They're the little ruder folks. It was really hard for me to call them at first, because in the restaurant industry and hospitality, we were trained, if the client talks, right, to be quiet, and they're always right. So when we're dialing CI leads, especially, you got to be a little spicy too, right? And you're going to have to be a little bit rude. So it's really important to understand the nice person on the phone is going to be broke. So you don't want to be the nice person on the phone. When you get to the appointment, you turn on your hospitality, right? In the appointment, you are the nicest person. You be quiet, you let them talk, right? The more rapport you can build in the appointment, the better it is for you to write more premium, right? But on the appointment booking, you are just a setter. I can't say that enough. You are, in fact, Symmetry said this one time, you're an unhappy setter, right? Like you hate your job, right? Like, and it should be pretty easy, because how many of y'all like to dial, right? So when you're dialing, it's not turning on your hospitality, right, or your charisma. It's, you are an appointment setter. You are not there to build a lot of rapport. You're just going to build enough, right, by asking a couple of questions, but you are not trying to be nice. And why I say that is so important, because CI leads are rude. So they're going to cut you off at any point you have a pause, right? Anytime you take a breath, right? And you stop talking, their job is to interrupt you instantly. How many of y'all have been, hey, my name is Joe Martinez, in the middle of that? Nope, 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 nope. I don't know why you're calling, right? Those are CI leads, right? You have to understand that it's okay. It's just their personality. And your job is to get hung up on or follow through the entire script. Nowhere in the script does it say start explaining what this call-in lead is. Does it say, hey, I'm calling because you can qualify for this, and it's going to be for the mortgage protection, and it's going to be to help you pay off the mortgage. And that is not part of the script when you jump off because they said something, right? You are not to defend our lead. What happens if you defend our lead is you give them something to grab onto, and they're never going to let go. And guess what they're going to do? They're going to lie. So it's going to be very easy for them. So as soon as you say, no, David, I'm calling because you called the letter, right? Or you did this, or you did that, and it's because of the form that we send out to you. They're instantly going to say, no, I never received the form, or I don't know what you're talking about. And then that's it, right? You have nothing to defend because guess what? They don't care. They're going to lie. That's why it's so important to ignore everything that they say and simply say, that's exactly why I'm calling, because there's nothing to grab onto, right? They can't say, no, I didn't. They can't say, no, I didn't. That's exactly why I'm calling, right? Or my favorite is, this is Casey Watkins, the owner of Symmetry. Oh, okay. And then back to script. I acknowledge you said something, really don't care. I'm back to script, right? And why this is so important is, guess what? They're feisty, and they actually like feisty people. Like realize all their friends are very rude too. So they're that circle of friends, right? That are rude. They talk, they joke, they mess with each other, and they do not get offended. You are not going to offend a CI lead, I promise you. Right? And so what do I mean by you got to be a little rude? Is if you can't get through the whole script to where you are ready to book the appointment, they shouldn't be talking. And if they talk, you actually got to get louder than them until they stop talking. And that's really rude. Right? So it's super hard to do. And it's all in our heads, right? Because you're like, I don't want to interrupt them. If you don't interrupt, or if you let them interrupt you, you are not booking an appointment. I promise, whatever, because their job, right? It's a game. Their job is to not book an appointment. Your job is to book the appointment. So what do I mean by being a little rude? Is you just got to get louder and continue to go through it. James who can play out, right? And be pretty aggressive, right? I'm just going to keep going all the way to booking my appointment and running the script. And I'm just going to get louder until he stops talking. And this is exactly what you need to do when you're booking an appointment. So ring, ring.
Hello.
Hey, James.
Hey,
Hey, this is Joe Martinez. I was just getting back to you about the letter you received in the mail about the mortgage protection for the mortgage.
what letters?
I'm the agent assigned to you, and it takes about 10 or 15 minutes to go over what you qualify for.
What
Is
option do I
tomorrow at
qualify
3
for?
o'clock? Is tomorrow 3 o'clock a good time for you?
At 3?
Yeah, 3 o'clock tomorrow.
That'll work.
Right? I don't care what they're saying. I don't care how long they're talking. You do not stop. You just simply get louder. They're going to stop talking. Yes, it's rude, but you're going to book an appointment, right? Your job is not to defend a lead, not to explain anything. Your job is to get hung up on or book an appointment, right? Finish the whole script. That is your job. It sounds crazy. I promise you, you will book a ton of appointments with CI leads. You should be booking 50% of a brand new CI lead, 50 of them. So that means if you got to order, if you get 40 CI leads a week, you should have at least 20 appointments a week. All you got to do is match their energy, right? Which is being a little spicy, right? And you have to keep going until you get to that part. And then if they say anything, right, of I don't want this, then your job is to either do I throw this lead away or not? And how you make sure, right, you establish why you're calling is the one sentence that everybody should know, right? Hey, Jason, I'm just making sure we're talking about the same coverage. If you were to pass away, it pays off the mortgage. If you get sick, it'll help you with the mortgage payment. That's what we're not interested in. Correct. That's not what I meant. Perfect. Bye. On to the next, right? Fall in love with the numbers. You are not looking to convince a CI lead to book an appointment. You are simply the CIs that let you book an appointment are going to do exactly like James. They're going to be a little spicy, and then they're going to say, yeah, 3 o'clock tomorrow works. And it's crazy because they will cuss at you. They will say all kinds of stuff. Stop blanking calling me and all this stuff. And they're like, 3 o'clock tomorrow, will that work? Yeah, I guess 3 will work. Do you have something later? I got a 6 o'clock. Will that work? Yep. Okay, let's do 6. What? It's hilarious, but it's the funnest thing when you actually know why it's happening, right? Because of the type of lead they are.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah.
Can you just go over, I think you've hit on exactly my frustration, probably a lot of people who are listening, and my problem is converting the CI lead into an appointment. And could you just go over the script one more time? Because the script that I see, when I get them, it's a little different than the way you say it. So what is your minimal script? And I'm just going to write it down.
Right. So it's going to be, hey, Michael, this is Joe Martinez.
Yep.
I'm just getting back to you about the letter you received in the mail about the mortgage protection, the mortgage insurance. I'm the agent assigned to you. It takes about 10 or 15 minutes to go over what you qualify for. Looks like I have a 3 o'clock tomorrow. That work?
Okay, 10, 15 minutes. I'm just writing it really furiously.
Yeah.
So
y'all don't stop
yep.
until you get to that part, right? Then they'll say something, and then it's amazing. Half of them are going to let you book the appointment, right? That's all you got to worry about. The other half, who cares? They're going to tell you, no,
it's going to be
this, that.
It'll take 10 or 15 minutes. I've got an opening at
3 o'clock tomorrow, whatever.
Give them a time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. See that seems very streamlined. Where I got hung up is, I looked at the suggested lead when it's kind of like there when you buy the thing, like there was a suggested lead, and then there was one I put into Ninja, and it's very complicated. It talks about postcards and this is and that, and I would always get hung up.
Yep, just say that, right? And then remember, you're making a statement. You ain't asking if they filled out a form or they respond, right? So that's why it's so important to say, I'm calling about the mortgage insurance, the mortgage protection. You responded to it. I'm not asking a question. The only way I have your phone number is you literally type that puppy in, right? Like realize the way leads are generated from Symmetry, they go to records, right? Public records. All they get is a name and an address. They mail that letter out. We still don't have a single phone number. The only way you have their phone number is they had to hand type that thing in. I'm not asking. I ain't questioning. Michael, right? You responded to it. It's a statement. It ain't a question, right? It's the way I'm talking to them. Again, a little rude because I'm not asking a question. I know you typed this number in, right? And even if it's the husband or wife, if I'm speaking to a different person that's not on that lead, it's with confidence because you're the one that gave me this phone number, right? So I ain't looking for John. I'm looking for you. You're the one that typed in your cell phone number, right? Because it was funny. The agent yesterday, right, said, hey, because the different person asked, and he goes, hey, is blank there? And then they said, no, he's busy, right? Because the wife answered, and then she goes, and he booked the appointment, but he even said, he goes, well, what number do you want me to call? Do you want me to call his number? She goes, no, this is his phone number. He goes, so y'all share a phone? And she even got a little offended because they don't share a phone. That's her phone number, right? Like that, it was her, right? They're lying to you and it's okay, right? We ain't here to judge are you lying to me or not. I'm here to get you mortgage protection, right? I got to understand you're spicy and I got to get you out of your own way so I can protect your family. Because at some point you found value in this. And my job is to put protection in place, right? So fall in love with that process and it gets so good.
Real quick, if I could just add, maybe I missed it, but when are you getting like the tobacco, the height, the weight, the rest of that? You do it after they agree to the appointment?
So that's after, yep. So it's, hey, 3 o'clock works for you? Yep, okay, perfect, Jason. Let me just verify the information I have, right? Then I'm gonna verify the address, health condition, smoke, tobacco, mortgage years, mortgage amount, right? The spouse, and we'll get into that right now, right? The spouse, tomorrow at 3 o'clock's great. Give me your email. I'm sending you verifications, right? So just that little part's a little bit different. After that, you go back to script and you verify everything and you lock it down like no tomorrow. Great question.
One thing I think, Joe, that's really important to highlight there, just because it's something that you and I have worked on together quite a bit, is right? We all want to optimize our leads. We want to get the absolute most out that we can possibly get. And so sometimes, or actually for me, it's almost all the time, right? I want to, okay, cool. I've got them on the phone. I want to keep them on the phone. I want to be nice. I want to, you know, just make myself feel like I'm optimizing that lead. And when they hang up on you, it doesn't feel like you're optimizing it. But you have to realize that when you get that feeling of, you know, you kind of worked yourself off the phone, or, you know, they just fed you objections and you didn't really have anything to come back with, you can always call them again, but if they hang up on you in the middle of the script, it gives you the opportunity to call them later and
Yeah,
book
well,
it again.
I like what you said, right? How do I maximize my opportunity? Getting hung up on is how you maximize your opportunity.
Exactly, because you're not optimizing when you let yourself get, you know, led
In
and
a
lied to off the
conversation.
phone, and there's your lead. You can't really call them back. I mean, you can, you should, but
And what he
getting
means
hung up
by
is
that,
way
right,
better.
is if you go off script, right, and no, I didn't, I don't know what you're talking about, and you're like, yeah, no, you received the postcard in the mail, you called the number on there, right, and you're edifying, right, that all you're doing is trying to prove our lead. No, Don, you called the letter and you answered a few questions, you went through the phone prompts, and that's why I'm talking to you now. They say, no, I didn't. There's nothing you can do, right? Like, well, I'm not interested. And that's it. That lead is gone. You cannot call that one back, right? Because they told you personally, don't call me anymore. I don't know what you're talking about, right? And they're lying. So it is so important, right? Like, talk about how do I maximize my return on a CI lead is get hung up on. Remember, they are spicy people. You want them to hang up because guess what you get to do tomorrow? You get to call them back. And it's hilarious, right, Nate? Tomorrow they answer the phone like if you're their best friend.
A completely different person. I've had them apologize. Hey, I'm sorry, you know, this and that. And right, it just, that's how you book appointments. It's night and day. It turned my business around. That little slip right there.
So realize your job is to book an appointment or get hung up. I can't say that. Like, challenge yourself. I need to get hung up on. When they start talking, you start getting louder and you keep going through the script. And I don't care at what point you want them to hang up. Because if you start having a conversation with them, you're not booking an appointment, promise. Right. So it makes it fun at that point, right? It's right, get hung up on to dial another day, right? Like, fall in love with that process and you'll book so many more appointments. Any questions, anyone else for dialing, booking them, and right, how that little part goes?
Joe, I just wanted to add something, kind of like what Nick was saying, you know, we want to like, and you and I actually talked about it yesterday as well, but, you know, trying to defend the lead and explain that, you know, do you feel, so like, say you end up sticking to the script, you end up booking the appointment. I guess my fear, and I'm sharing because maybe someone else is dealing with this, is like, they don't really know why we even set the appointment. So it's like, that's where sometimes like you feel like you're trying to explain like why we're setting the appointment. So that's the side of it where it's like, sometimes I feel like if you don't explain, then they're just not even going to show up to the appointment because they were kind of unsure of what we just said.
Yeah.
So I guess of taking all that emotion out and just, okay, tomorrow at 3, you know, I feel like that's what I struggle with, is hoping they'll be there at 3 because do they understand like what just happened? So I over explain. So
yeah, and right, and this is what I teach everyone, right? Everything you just said is I, right? Like, we have to take ourselves out of the equation because it's feelings you have, it's feelings you feel. I feel they're not going to show up. I feel I need to explain more. I feel, right? Like, there is so much science in our scripts that have been created over the past 15 years, and realize the people that created over the past 15 years have 30 years each experience, right? There's literally hundreds of years of science into the scripts, the way they say it, the way we do it, the way we don't say extra stuff, because it's all about, right? It's just in our heads, right? I'm emotional about blank, right? Like right, the triple dial. I love when I talk to a new agent, they're like, oh my God, they're going to be so upset. I feel they're going to be upset because I wouldn't want. We don't care what you think, right? Like, this is a numbers game. I'm giving you the highest probability to book the most amount of appointments. Yes, you can do it by not listening to us. You will book an appointment and write an app, but you will not do it consistently every single week and be highly profitable. That's what I can promise you, right? It's about following the script and doing it exactly the same time, every single time, and taking your emotions out, because it doesn't, the reason you feel that I didn't, right? How do I know if they're going to show up tomorrow? Is because you're worried about the number of appointments you have booked, right? Because if you have the number of appointments booked, I promise the math will always math out, right? And we'll dig into that too, because it doesn't matter. Like, this is just a proven system, and y'all just got to trust it, right? Like I'm telling y'all right now to be rude to a client. Do you know how weird that is? Every other industry, they told me to be quiet and be super nice to them. Y'all have to be rude. Don't explain anything, because as soon as you explain anything, you're off script, and now you're giving them information about what this mortgage protection is, but you're doing you'll have to think about it. You're doing a horrible job at it because you only got 30 seconds or 5 seconds. Right. So you're really quickly trying to say, hey, because this is mortgage protection. If you pass away, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. Right. And that's why you should show up tomorrow. I promise you, I'm going to be the best for you. Right. And guess what? You just told them it's mortgage protection and it's insurance. They don't want to hear it. Right. So guess what? They're not going to show up tomorrow. The reason they show up tomorrow is actually because you don't give them any information. Right. So now they're curious. Right. And y'all have to fall in love with the process, right? It's the more information you give them. You are an appointment setter, not an appointment runner. You got two different jobs. Right now is to book an appointment. Don't give them anything. If they right, if you listen to our dial sessions, or even right, anyone's, and they're saying, hey, and so tomorrow at 3 o'clock. So what is this again? Yep, tomorrow I will explain everything and go over how the coverage works for you. I'm not giving you anything because, in fact, I'm not giving you anything because I need you curious to show up for tomorrow so that I can do a proper job of showing you how this works, and you figuring out that, oh crap, I need this because I have nothing in place, right? Because I uncover a need for you. So you actually want them not to know anything, Janelle, because that way they're curious to show up for tomorrow, right? So that's a really good question too, right? Do not explain anything to anyone. You are an appointment setter. Tomorrow at 3 o'clock, I will go over that. Well, you can't tell me more. It's because I actually do the research overnight, and tomorrow I'll be able to go over the coverage for you. Nothing. I don't give you anything until tomorrow, when you let me actually run a real appointment. Anything else on dialing, booking it? Because we're going to go into the numbers of working a CI.
I have a question. I know
Okay.
that we're talking about CI leads. Do you have any suggestions if it's an older lead, like a bonus lead? Do you have any suggestions on changing the script a little bit, or kind of same script?
Yep, no, that's a great question. We do add one thing, right? So you're going to say, hey, Amber, this is Joe Martinez. I'm just getting back to you about the letter you received in the mail about the mortgage protection, the mortgage insurance. Looks like you responded to it a while back ago, and that's it. So a while back ago, when you responded to it, is what you'll add. That's it.
Okay.
Everything else stays exactly the same.
Thank you.
Yep. That's a really good question too. Anything else on dialing, booking them? Brett.
Yeah, how many times a day do we actually dial leads?
So if you don't have appointments, and you're full time, you should be working 8 hours dialing all day.
Like,
right?
you call the same lead, triple dial 3 times a day?
So ideally, in a perfect world, you don't have any appointments, you should be able to call your leads in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening 3 times each time, right? So you can call somebody 9 times. That's a good one.
Question.
All right. Any other questions before we go working? So now, right, that's how you'll book appointment. I promise you, I'll stick to that script. You'll book a ton of appointments. You should be booking, if you're working bonus leads, a good number to know is right under about half of your contacts, right? So if you've talked to 20 people today, you should be around 8, right, to 7 appointments, right under half. That's a good just number to know. If you are calling brand new CI leads, you should be over half of the people you talk to, you'll be able to book. So now working them and understanding this process. So please, everybody write this down. If I'm calling CI leads, it takes 3 to 4 rebooks for me to write that application and fall in love with that process, right? So what do I mean by that? If I booked Sam and she's my lead and I booked her for today, guess what? There's a very, very high probability she's going to no-show me. Because at least me, I've been doing this for 6.5 years. I am happy with a 40% show rate. I usually am between 30 to 40% show rate on CI leads, but I love it because I know my numbers, right? So fall in love with a 30 to 40% show rate, okay, with a CI lead, and then I'm just gonna move them along the process because I know on the third or fourth rebook, I'm writing that application. What do I mean by that again, right? So Sam booked today. She no-shows me perfectly fine. She goes back into my dialer. I call her today like nothing happened. She's literally just another lead. The one thing I do advise, if there are no-shows, call those first because those are the easiest ones to book, right? So if I had 4 no-shows today and I'm going to get back on the phone, those 4 no-shows are the first ones that I'm going to dial. Right. So I'll literally call Sam again. She didn't call me or she didn't answer today, but tomorrow she's back on my dialer. I call her. She's going to answer absolutely like nothing happened. I promise you. They're like, hello. Hey, Sam, I missed you yesterday. Right. I'm just getting you back on the books. Is 3 o'clock today a good time? She's like, no, I'm sorry. I was busy yesterday and today I have it. Okay, perfect. Tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Will that work? Yes. Perfect. Thank you, Sam. I still got your email. That's the right one. Yep. Book it just like a regular appointment. I got Sam booked now for tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Guess what she's going to do to me tomorrow? She's going to no-show me again, right? I'm going to call. She ain't. I'm going to send all the reminders. Right? If you're both Apple or if you're both Android, you can see that they read the message and they still didn't respond, right? Go crazy, do whatever you want to do, but fall in love with the process because tomorrow she's going to no-show me again. I'm going to call her. She doesn't answer. Maybe tomorrow night she does pick up like 2 hours after our appointment. And I'm like, Sam, I know we missed you again, right? Is tomorrow at 4 o'clock a good time for you? Yes, let's go ahead and do it. Again, I'm sorry. Now, Sam, now I'm getting to build rapport though, because I know the numbers. Sam, you didn't show up for me yesterday. Are you sure? I want to make sure it's a good time. If not, I'm gonna go have lunch, right? I get to even crack a joke and build rapport with that knowledge. No, Joe, I promise, right? I've been super busy. Tomorrow's going to be a really good time. I'm putting you on my calendar, right? I don't have my kids tomorrow, right? Like they'll tell you all these stories and they're confirming. Guess what's going to happen Friday? I'm writing that application. I know this number. I promise y'all fall in love with it and embrace the no-shows because, right, we teach y'all to have a great day for you should be $200 or book 6 appointments, right? Now, book 6 appointments for tomorrow doesn't mean brand new 6 appointments, just means have 6 appointments on the books. So the really cool part is if I have 4 brand new appointments, but I have 2 like Sam, right, that have been pushed along the process, I am really excited because they're on their 4th touch. So both of those are highly likely for me to get applications, right? So it's you start moving folks along the process and then it gets exciting, right? That's why it's so important to stay super consistent because if you have one bad week, David, and then don't dial this week, and then you start dialing again next week, all you did was reset that, right? You have nobody on the 3rd or 4th touch. So it becomes, right? So if you're not consistently dialing every single day, 5 days a week at least, right? If you're full-time, realize you're just restarting that and you're never getting anyone to that 3rd or 4th rebook. So it becomes a horrible circle of hoping I write everyone on the very first sit, right? Because no one has been moved along the process. So realize that's why it's so important too, to stay consistent. It's so important to always have 6 appointments on the books because the numbers, right? If you have 6 appointments booked for today, and I'm hoping for a 50% show rate, if I have 6, that means I'm only going to sit with 3. And then our average close rate for Symmetry is 50%. So I'm only going to close 1.5, but I can't close 1.5 homes, right? So I'm only going to close 1 home, right? And that gives me an opportunity to write 1 application. So if I only have 5 appointments booked for today, and I have a 50% show rate, so that means I'm going to sit with 2, right? And I only close half of them, realize you're going to have very, very low chances of actually writing an application. And once you're below 5, right? So if I have 4 appointments, 50 of them show up, right? Or 50 of them show up and I have a 50% close rate, like the odds of you writing an application, you can't write half an app, right? You can't write half an app. So more than likely you don't have an application for today. but it's so fun. The top producers in our organization, they have 6 appointments for tomorrow. They're excited because the probability of writing an application or 2 is very, very high. Like, fall in love with that, because that's how you write business every other day or every day.
I got a question.
Yeah.
So how long do you schedule for an appointment? Like when I put it into my calendar, if I were to do 6, I've been giving them like an hour, 45 minutes of book time. What do you, I mean, you can't do that many if you had 6, right?
I book mine every 30 minutes.
Every 30 minutes?
Yep. Because I double book. I'll put 2 at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Right. Fall in love with the numbers. Half of them ain't going to show up. I hope. James, how many times do you have 2 6 o'clocks and none of them show up?
A lot.
Right? Like, you can't. I love that question, Michael, because so many people like, oh my God, you want me to put that many people? I wish we had a sit problem. We would all be millionaires, right? Like, we would be millionaires if we had a sit problem. We don't. We have a no-show problem, and we have a moving them along the touch problem, right? Like, if you will be 1 in a million, buddy. Like, fall in love with those numbers. I double book, right? I have triple booked. I have them every 30 minutes. Yeah, I wish we had, right? And the worst case or best case scenario, they're actually both ready. You just simply say, hey, I'm finishing with my last family, right? I'm writing some applications. I'll talk to you in about 30 minutes or an hour. That the likelihood of you now even writing that one is even higher, because you just told them oh crap, they're writing applications. So if they show up for that appointment, they're like, well, guess what? The family before me wrote an application, right? So it gives you a really, really big advantage when I have to push somebody back, right? If I'm late 15 minutes because I was because I book them every 30 minutes, right? And it really takes me about 45 minutes to an hour to write applications. And I'm like, hey, I'm just finishing up. I was working with the sweet family and I'm just getting signatures. Give me about 20 minutes and I'll be there. And then when I get on that appointment, it's like, oh man, I just helped them with 4 applications. They're super excited. I got them instantly approved. I'm like, it was a good one. And they're like, oh wow, that's awesome. Well, I hope you can do the same for me. Absolutely. Right. So
you see them right within
increases them.
So you see it right in Zoom. So let's say I'm having an appointment with you in Zoom and I go past my 30 minutes. The next group, family right behind me, you would see that as like they're trying to start the Zoom. And like, I'm not sure how you switch back and forth.
So you don't jump in, I text them, right? So I'll just text them like, hey, I'm running behind, right? Because I'll get an email saying, hey, they jumped into the Zoom, right? And then I already know if they're coming on, because an hour before I send them a personal text, like, hey, send me a C to confirm you're going to show up. So I already know too, like, hey, this one said they're going to show up, right? If they didn't even send me a C, I don't even care. I don't call them, advise them, nothing. I just call them when I'm done with that appointment. Like,
so you send, that sounds like a great idea. Again, I'm not doing that also. So you manually send each appointment ahead of time a text saying, if you're going to show up, send C.
1 hour before my appointment, I will send, hey, this is Joe Martinez, as a reminder for our mortgage protection appointment. Please send a C to confirm our appointment at 3 o'clock today. I'll be calling you from this phone number, right? And my phone number.
Got it.
And so we get little C's back, and that's like the most exciting C I've ever seen.
So Joe, you don't use Calendly?
I do not use. So we're all on Ninja Dialer. So Ninja Dialer sends them the Zoom link, sends email confirmations, text confirmations, does everything for us. But even outside of that, we send from our personal phone so that they have that that text that I just said.
Thank you.
Right. You can't. And 1 hour before is a magic number. Do not send them all in the morning, because if you send all at 8 a.m. and you have 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, they're going to instantly say, I have a busy day, I cancel. Right. So you send it 1 hour before is the best number that we have had. Anything later than that, right? 10 minutes, 5 minutes before, it's too late because they'll forget. So you want to give them an hour to make sure they remember you. Because even with all the calendars or all the Ninja Dialers, nobody reads emails.
I got a question, Joe.
Yeah.
So I've been getting a lot of, like, when I call, they already have mortgage protection through their work. Is that the point where what do you say at that point? I'm getting stuck on a lot of those.
Yep. So they're all lying to you. Nobody has mortgage protection through work. That doesn't exist, right? Mortgage protection doesn't exist. I hope everybody understands this. Mortgage protection is a concept. We simply sell life insurance, and there's only two
Life
types.
insurance, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. I'm so
No,
sorry.
you're good, right? But so mortgage protection is, it's either we're either going to do a term or a whole life, and we're just showing them a concept of how to use it, right? And so you actually want them, right? So it goes back to, you see Mr. David Roberts back there. He has basketball jerseys. He loves sports. So if I sell basketball stuff and I go to his house, highly likely to sell some basketball equipment, right? Or sport memorabilia, right? If I go to somebody else's house that has nothing from sports, right? The chances of me making a sale in that house, not good, right? Because they don't like sports, they don't watch anything. The likelihood of me selling some basketball gear in that home, almost zero, right? So if somebody has life insurance already, guess what they believe in? Life insurance. The likelihood of you selling more is super high, through the roof. They believe in the product, right? Look, I sell life insurance. I don't believe in it. I don't like insurance. I'm the guy at Walmart that they say, right, do you want to buy the $2 extra insurance from Amazon? I do no, right? But guess what? I'm in the industry. I believe in my product, right? But before this, I was not that guy. Talk to my brother. He's a sucker for insurance. Hey, do you want phone insurance? Do you want insurance on your vacuum? Do you want insurance on your couch, right? Do you want insurance on your pin that you brought? Yes. You'll get him every single time. He loves that, right? Like that's him. So if
Insurance
they
on my
have
dog.
insurance on his dog, right? So if it's actually a good thing, Jennifer, if they have life insurance, you just need to know how to compartmentalize it, right? So perfect. You got work, you got insurance to work. Perfect. Do you have anything permanent? So you'll kind of devalue it, because insurance from work is actually fake. Oh, it's a great benefit while they're at work, but everybody, when you leave that job, you don't have that coverage.
They don't own the policy, right?
They don't own the policy, right? So my go-to is, oh, great. I love those benefits from work. Do you have anything you own on your own? And then they always say no. Great, perfect, right? And
I
then
do need to call James, right? And
Yeah.
sell him some insurance.
yeah. And so, yeah, everybody call James. He'll buy insurance. So it's a good thing, Jennifer, just learn how to take it away, right? Like, okay, what did you get that for? Just life and perfect. Okay, great, right? Because this is mortgage protection, right? So we sell mortgage protection. It is completely different than anything they have. And then I want to remind y'all this so much. Remember, when they called the form and went through the phone prompts and did this, they had the life insurance already. So what changed from yesterday to today? Nothing. They already had that life insurance and they still called the number. They still went through the process because they want more, right? So remember, they're just defending themselves because guess what they do? They buy, right? So they're just putting up their wall, right? When a client walks onto the car lot, the instant thing they say, I'm just shopping, right? Like I'm just looking. No, you ain't. You came to my car lot. We only sell Jeeps. You came to this car lot for a car here today. You didn't come to just shop, right? Because if you were just shopping, you do that online. You are on my lot to buy a car on my lot because you saw one specifically that you wanted, and that's the one you're walking to. Because you're usually, oh, we're just shopping, and they're literally walking to the car that they want to buy, right? So just understand that concept, and it gets you excited. If they have life insurance already, that's a winner. Next thing would be, let's talk about a little bit about the spouse. Make sure you're not running one-legged appointments. Again, these folks are spicy. What do I mean by spicy? They're going to push back on random stuff, right? So you'll call a CI lead, and right, even when you go through the whole thing and you told them 3 o'clock tomorrow, they're going to say weird stuff like, I don't even have a mortgage, right? Well, what do you understand? Everything they say is a lie, right? Their job is to not book an appointment because you haven't established why they're calling, and they're just being feisty for absolutely no reason, right? Absolutely no reason, right? So they're going to tell you random stuff like that. They're also going to tell you random stuff like, hey, so when you're verifying their information and hey, looks like you have the mortgage of $325,000, you'll hear stuff like, no, I don't have that mortgage, right? And again, ignore them. Okay, so what's the mortgage at? How much do we owe on it? Oh, well, I owe, right? So if I said 300, I don't have the 300,000. I don't have that mortgage. And I'm going to say, well, how much do we owe on the mortgage? And they're like, oh, I owe 298. Something retarded like that, right? They're gonna say, no, I only owe 270 on it, right? Again, allow them the grace. Don't listen to what they're saying, right? Like just overcome whatever the random stuff they're saying, because it's not true, right? They're just they're being them, right? They're spicy, right? So do you just blow past it? Hey, okay, so how much do we owe on the mortgage, right? Even though they said, I don't have that mortgage. How much do we owe? We have 270. Okay, great. Right. So also, right, we're starting to verify information. Looks like I got you at the age of 52. Yep. Any health conditions, right? They'll tell you whatever they're going to tell you. And then, hey, what about a spouse or anyone else on the mortgage? Because this is where they lie to us. Nope, nope, just me. Because I said anyone else on the mortgage, and maybe the wife's not on the mortgage, so they're not going to tell you about the wife. It's retarded. Just fall in love with it. But okay, great. So who would be the beneficiary? You're not here tomorrow, David. Who are we leaving the house to? Well, my wife. Okay, great. What's her name? How old is she? Any health conditions for her? Right. So they're just being, again, they're being feisty with absolutely everything. So you just got to make it fun to get as much information as you can out of them. And that's usually the best way, right? Is, hey, so who would be the beneficiary? On a CI lead, I know on the best script, it says, most importantly, when you responded to the form, what were you looking for it to do? I'm sorry, on this one, you got to throw that one away. That is not a good question. Do not ask him, because they're all going to tell you, well, I don't know. I just called the number on here because it said my mortgage was in danger, and you're going to lose that lead. Okay. So this is the one part I'll say, don't follow that little best script, right? Just that one sentence, right? The best thing to ask them is, if something were to happen to you, who are we leaving the house to? Who are we looking to protect? That's the best way to do it. And if they say, I don't know, I didn't even think about it, no worries. Like, skip that question on to the next. They can think about it overnight, right? Because again, remember, we didn't trick them, but they weren't thinking ahead, right? These are not proactive people. These are reactive people. So the reason we sell so many and we help so many CI leads is because when you get them to the appointment and you uncover their need, right? You went through their finances, they're reactive. They're like, holy crap, David, if I die, right? Danelle can't do anything, right? Because she has no income. They're reactive. Yes, we need the policy immediately, right now, put it in place, right? They are reactive people, but you got to get to that part of the script so that they have something to react to. That's why you can't explain anything. Run the appointment, even if they're being feisty at the beginning. Well, I'm just here to shop. I'm just here to look. Just give me some prices. But you run the entire appointment, and the CI will buy immediately, because they're reactive people. So they want to react to the problem that you've now uncovered. So that's why, again, CI leads are so good. Make sure you're booking Zoom appointments. Okay, Zoom appointments, James, right? You went from a 30 to 40% close rate to a right 80, 90% close rate now if you're on Zoom. I mean, you want to give us some hints on those?
Yeah, you automatically go to a 70% just by doing the Zoom. That's the numbers that Symmetry says. So I fell in love with that. If I have a 70% chance of closing now, I'm doing a Zoom appointment. How I just got better is just tweaking, running perfect, good appointments and being consistent with it, making sure you're following, the script there. That brought me up to about an 80 to 90% close rate. So if you're sitting in an appointment in front of you, there's a 90% chance I'm going to write a policy on you.
Crazy numbers, right? You got to get them on Zoom. Again, there are reactive people. You get to see their faces, right? They get to see you. Remember, they're the most spicier ones. So over the phone just probably doesn't sit with right? They want to put a face to you, and then you get to mirror their attitude, right? Or their spiciness, and then they love it, right? Because those are the ones, again, in those appointments, you better be ready for some random conversations, right? Like, I blanked this and oh, me too, right? Like, just mirror their spiciness, right? Like, let me tell y'all, I agree with every political view, every sports team, everything, right? Because they are CI leads. They are feisty, spicy, and just be really good at mirroring them, right? Don't worry about what they're saying. It ain't towards you. That's just how they speak, right? They're just spicy people.
Yeah, this is where you actually show your true self, have energy, be alert, be ready to answer any questions they may have, or pivot if you have to.
Let them talk, right? They're gonna go off. They want to be heard, right? Like, just have fun with them at that point.
Yeah, these are the ones that like to talk, so let them talk, and then just redirect it. Hey, sometimes they're talking, okay, next I just need this. I interrupt them and they're okay with it, even though they're talking. and then going back and forth in it. So you just be okay with that.
Can I have a question? I have a question.
Uh-huh.
If they show up on Zoom and their camera's off, what do you ask them to turn it on, or how do you do that? Because I do have some people that do that.
I don't even ask. I go to that little button that says request camera on and click it,
Okay.
and they turn it on. I don't even ask, right? And then if I've clicked it 3 or 4 times and they haven't, I'm like, hey, is your camera working? So I don't think, man, maybe 1 or 2 ever I've ran, right? Because they couldn't figure it out or whatever. But I don't even ask. I just go to the button and click it, and then they just turn it on.
And if there's not working, be like, hey, is my camera on? Or can you see me?
Yeah,
I can see you.
that's a good one.
Okay.
Good one. Let's see. Any other questions on, right? The posture of the CI lead again, right? Is you be a little brave with them, like enjoy the spiciness. But when we say posture, like you should be surprised if they hop on Zoom up until this point that you are not writing an application. You're like, your posture should be extremely high. There's way too many yeses in between, right? Like they had to go through phone prompts. They had to answer your phone. They had to book the appointment. They showed up for the appointment. They got ready on Zoom, right? They went through your host, they sat through your presentation. Like the likelihood of you writing an application should be extremely high, at minimum 50%, right? So like, again, I love CI leads, because for me, dollar-wise, I get 2 for the price of a mail-in, right? And I just know the numbers, right? I just fall in love with on the 3rd or 4th, right? Rebook is when you're going to be writing them. Even sitting with them and going through the whole presentation, if you get to think about it with them, it's still moving them along the process. You book them for either later today or tomorrow immediately, right? So if they're saying, hey, me and Sandy need to talk, perfect. So it looks like tomorrow at 3 o'clock, I can give you a call back. Is that a good time for you? Again, super assumptive, right? And I'm not letting them, right? Because they're going to try to push. Well, I'll just call you. Hey, I'm really busy, Michael. Tomorrow at 3 o'clock, will that work? Or 5 o'clock? Is that better? Can you give us till next week? I'm like, I'm going to be busy next week. How about Thursday this week, right? Like I'm pushing it as close as possible. And I want a time that I'm going to call you back, because those are my favorite appointments, right? Because if you're a think about it at that point from a CI lead, that's a 10-minute appointment, if that, because either you're going to tell me no, or I'm writing applications, right? And it's the 3rd or 4th sit. So I fall in love with that number.
What about when they text you and they're like, yeah, no, forget it. I don't want to talk to you, or some variation on that?
Okay, bye. I mean, they don't want to talk to me. They don't want to talk to me, right? Again, we fall in love with the numbers. You should be able to close, right? You should be above 15%. You should be at 30%. At a good close rate, you should be at 30%, right? With CI leads, right? And I mean, just fall in love with it. They're all no's. Who cares, right? Like, just fall in love with the numbers.
You should be happy when they do that, just because, hey, you don't have to run the appointment. That's a no. That would have been a no regardless, because if you would have ran the appointment, that's a no.
An hour wasted, right? You can go back on the phone.
The only time we get concerned, or we're like, it's because we don't have our 6 appointments or more in the day, because you're banking on that 1 or 2 appointments that you have, and now if you only had 2 appointments and that one told you no, now you're down to 1. So what are the chances of you? So that's why it's important to have more, because you're like, whew, I'm back to back. You're running appointments and they're showing up. Hey, now I get to dial, because I mean, I was running back to back. So I'm running just that appointment and using that time to dial, or, my lunch hour, finally I get to eat, using the ones that tell me no or don't show up.
Yep. Yeah, CIs, so we are not convincing anyone of anything. Just get good at all this stuff, right? And make sure you're at your peak performance. But they say no. They cut you off in the middle of the appointment. No, you know what? Then you've already gone through what your role and purpose and what this is, and they're cutting you off. Great, bye. Right? Like, have that posture, because you're just going to run an appointment for an hour for no reason, right? Because they're going to say no. So we ain't convincing nobody. Trust me, the CI leads are beautiful. The people that, when they're ready to go, they're going to say yes, and you're going to write applications. We didn't convince anyone of anything. And I don't care how bad you run the appointment, you're still closing that puppy because they want the coverage. They're just spicy people. So thank y'all for hopping on.
Thanks.